Hi, good evening, class. My name is Lisa, and I'm going to be discussing this week's topic on classroom technology. So, in order to really make sure it's successful, my nursing practice begins with the following steps. So, the first thing is assessment. So, the important thing is finding out what content needs to be taught and whether or not it addresses the learning needs of the learner, and whether or not you have to, structure what works and what does not work for your learners. And to make sure we define the options, the literature must be well researched. There must be techniques that address the identified needs, and also make sure that it's clarifying what's the overall objective. And also to make sure you're planning this into action is that you understand who your main stakeholders are and what their investment is in a status quo or in a change that can be helpful, and planning strategies to bring them on board. This also makes sure that you're building rapport amongst all parties involved in the planning stage. And and then we also have to understand that some strategies will require the curricular to change, which is, can complicate the process. But once you kind of get an early head start, you want to make sure you avoid these, implementation delays. So it's very important for us to make sure that we take enough time to develop support for the strategy. And as far as gaining support for the innovation, the key thing is that, you're making sure you're finding equitable resources such as, physical assistance. And you have to understand that some strategies may require little or no resources to implement. So, once you face this barrier, then it's important to make sure that you have, you're gaining support for, acquisition of your resources, and also make sure you have alternative sources of funding as a backbone. And the best ways of preparing your students for the innovation is, make sure that the way you're delivering your instructions are, clear, concise, and very specific, and the amount of time that you're preparing um, to preparing your curricular is key to this. So, this is a time where you're motivating students to really want to try the process, and, for really gaining their support. And also, faculty members may also need to prepare for innovation. And the key thing is that it's not just limited to the learners, but all parties involved with the planning must prepare for whatever may be coming from their development. And second to last step to this is implementing innovation. So the best part of this process is make sure that it's real, it's, comes into fruition for the innovator. This is a strategy where the concept can come to life with, you know little to no room for error. And lastly, how would you evaluate the outcome? So this is important because learning can continue long after the implementation of the strategy. It may be possible to measure short term attainment of the learning outcomes, but it may not be possible to explore long term effects. So, as nurse educators, we need to be, kind of proud of how we, really accomplish this curriculum. And we also want to make sure that in the long term that your learners and your students need to cope with what is achieved, and is it being, is is the concept being attained for the long term benefits. Alrighty, so that's about it. Thank you.